Be absolutely vital, handling the ball and making decisions. In a hostile environment, you need your point guard to have some poise. So Wooster needs to have a big game for the Huskers.
Bryce Williams coming off that 28-point performance. Double figures his last 8 games. Huskers to work first here in Omaha. Erka Butunjel up top, it finds Jawan Gary. Hitting threes is going to be something Nebraska really hopes they could do. They've struggled from behind the arc.
Very much so. Only about 5 made threes a game, 25% as a team. And Fred Hoiberg simply said making threes is the #1 thing we have to correct. So it's a great sign to get Jawan Gary on the board early.
Just his 4th made 3 of this young season. Pop Isaacs will try to answer, and he will. Oh, but deep 3.
It's a tough one late in the clock. Butunjel with the mismatch. He's got a quickness disadvantage, so he plays off him, and Pop Isaacs, the Texas Tech transfer, knocks it down.
Pace of this game feels important for both of these teams. Nebraska looking early for Gary from behind the arc. Got a good look, but the 3 won't go.
Got to be careful with those. Jawan Gary got 1 to go down, but that's not his strength as a player.
Creighton trying to ramp up that pace just a little bit. Spent a lot of time in the half court on their first possession. Jemiah Neal's 3 will not go, and there's Braxton Meehl with the rebound for the Huskers.
That's where you bring up pace. These sorts of situations, no numbers, come down, be deliberate with your offense. Don't get into a track meet. Not saying take the air out of the ball, but don't want to get in a track meet here on the road against the Blue Jays, who are elite in transition.
Williams will try from deep. Huskers first 3 attempts, all from behind the arc, 1 for 3 tonight. Pop Isaacs. Strong, and Meehl with a good rebound.
The transition defense is going to be crucial. That was the other area Fred Hoiberg was really worried about. Said if we don't get back in transition, we might as well get off the bus with how fast Creighton is. Mismatch here. Got some smaller guards for Creighton. Jawan Gary going to work on the smaller Pop Isaacs. That's the one advantage Nebraska has, positional size and physicality on the smaller guards of Ashworth and Pop Isaacs. I love posting up early for Nebraska.
Biggest team that Creighton has played this year, these Nebraska Cornhuskers.
And especially this lineup. Now, Nebraska can go small, but this is their jumbo lineup.
Trout will try from deep. Karam's off into the arms of Bryce Williams of Nebraska.
Here, Gary's got a mismatch again. I'd go right inside if you can.
Williams thought about that shot briefly. You could see the wheels turning. Instead, he'll take the free throw line jumper. Can't get the roll.
Good. 3 Huskers back, building a wall, active there, getting a steal. That's good transition defense early for Nebraska.
That's the length of Butunjel, the transfer from UCLA, who's just starting to get his feel in Lincoln.
Had his best game as a Husker against St. Mary's on Sunday.
He'll try from deep. And it rolls off the front of the rim and falls, and an 8-3 early start for the Big Red.
Nebraska, they're going to get dared by the Blue Jays to knock down threes at certain spots. And so far, Gary getting 1 to go down and Butunjel getting 1 to go down. That's huge for Fred Hoiberg.
And if you're Fred Hoiberg, you've got to be thrilled with the active hands defensively you've seen early from this group.
Absolutely. And that's an area where Nebraska's struggled a little bit offensively, but defensively they've been solid. They're forcing 17 turnovers a game. That's 23rd best in the country. So the activity has been there defensively early for Fred Hoiberg's team.
And they've been able to convert on the turnovers they've gotten. 21.5 points per game off turnovers, although St. Mary's didn't exactly give them a lot of opportunities in the loss earlier. Isaacs tries from 2, and he uses every bit of that rim to get 2 points.
They're going to be very worried about Kalkbrenner on that roll. So those guys dribbling off those ball screens are going to have scoring opportunities just like that for Pop Isaacs.
An 8-5 lead for Nebraska. Wooster will try from deep. That's no good. Nebraska falling in love early with the 3.
Took the words out of my mouth. You got to be careful about taking too many quick threes.
What did we see last year in Lincoln? 2 for 22 from 3 for Nebraska. They were really never in the game, and a turnover for the Blue Jays.
You go to that baseline, Nebraska floods to the ball and traps. You need to be rock solid and strong if you're Creighton against this defensive system for Nebraska when you go baseline.
Spent a lot of time on that at the practice, the shoot around before this game earlier tonight. Bryce Williams will try a 2.
And obviously he's the best creator for offense for Nebraska. Just a very comfortable start for the Huskers right now on both ends of the floor. Got to try to get Kalkbrenner a post up if you're Creighton.
That quiet first 5 minutes. Ashworth a contested 3, but he rattles it home.
Well, that's the other end of playing big. You get Buchtengel stretched out on the perimeter. You've already seen him get 2 threes made over him, one from Pop Isaacs and one from Ashworth. So it's a little give and take when you play big. It can help you and it can be problematic.
Andrew Morgan to work. The underhand to Williams being chased by Ashworth, but he got free for 2. Some good action away from the ball for Nebraska.
And that's where Bryce Williams is a good mid-range shooter. And with Creighton's ball screen defense, there's going to be opportunities for those shots for Bryce Williams.
Isaacs off the shot fake. Spin around to Ashworth. Here's Neal left alone in the corner for 3. That will not go, and we've got a foul on the floor. Andrew Morgan and Ryan Kalkbrenner tangled up, and Morgan with his first.
Well, we figured the three-point shot would loom large. Nebraska making some, but you know Stephen Ashworth is not shy. Gets the mismatch, lets it fly. Rivalry game in Omaha. Big East, the success has only increased because of that man right there and the culture and the program he has built in Omaha.
Mason Miller on the floor, back after missing the last 2 games with an injury. Also Jackson McAndrew and a quick 3 off the bench. Creighton has only had 1 field goal attempt inside the 3-point arc tonight.
Well, Fred Hoiberg's defensive system is built to protect the paint, and it's going to be crucial.
And Connor Esijan off the bench, leaning in, and gets a foul on Stephen Ashworth.
But it's going to be crucial, Kevin, as you take a look at Esijan, who's, I think, going to play a large role because he is by far the best 3-point shooter on this roster, the Wisconsin transfer. Knocked down 69 threes as a freshman at Wisconsin. But Nebraska's defensive system, Kevin, they want to protect the paint, and they're willing to give up, not open threes, they want them contested. And so far early on, Nebraska's done just that. They forced 7 of the 8 shots have been threes from Creighton.
It's a page taken out of their book in this series from 2 years ago against the Creighton Blue Jays when they won in this building in 2022.
Completely shut down and dominated the paint. Now, they allowed a lot of 3-point attempts, and Creighton missed those shots. But you definitely take away the paint.
Here's Ashworth. Jumping out on him is his former teammate at Utah State, Raleigh Wooster. And Wooster slipped a little bit and then was forced to foul his first.
See, Wooster slips. And it's interesting. They're both at Utah State, but they're very different players.
Yes.
Ashworth, a shooter, a little bit smaller. Wooster, a big-bodied guard who is more of a distributor. But both those guys impact winning in a major way.
Aaron Eulis in now for the first time for the Huskers, the Iowa Hawkeye who transferred to Nebraska. 10 to shoot. Neal trying to penetrate. Now 6 on the shot clock. Ball knocked free and a turnover by the Blue Jays.
That's a great defensive possession from Nebraska. Active, flying around, protecting the paint, closing out the shooters, forcing a turnover.
Williams around the screen from Morgan, and that too rolls off to McAndrew. Kalkbrenner still quiet, not even an attempt. He sets a screen for Ashworth on the baseline, and he steps out of bounds. Nebraska forcing him to that baseline, and another Creighton turnover. That's 4 already for the Jays.
Well, in a rivalry game, you better be there from an emotional standpoint in terms of fight and physicality. And so far, Nebraska's absolutely stepped to the middle of this ring and thrown the first punch.
Sam Hoiberg on the floor for the first time tonight. Here's Esijan. Got a look from 3, and he's fouled from 3. We have seen Esijan come on the floor and really spark Nebraska's get to the line game, because that's been a big part of what Nebraska has done through the first 4 games this year.
No question. And Esijan fits that Keisei Tominaga spot very nicely. Running off screens, running off handoffs to shoot threes. It's exactly what he was brought in to do in the transfer portal. And I think he's a great pickup for Fred Hoiberg.
That's his first miss of the year at the line. Two misses. Esigian was 12 for 12 on the year before those two misses. Time now for our big deals, sponsored by Walmart. Nick, what do you see the big deals tonight?
Well, for Nebraska, the three-point line both ways. Defending the three and finding a way to knock down some threes are going to be crucial. And then for Creighton, keeping Nebraska off the free throw line. Creighton tops in the country in fewest fouls per game a year ago. It's a staple of their program. That needs to really loom large for the Blue Jays because Nebraska gets a lot of points from the free throw line.
Nebraska one of only two teams last year to get Creighton in the bonus in the first half as Isaacs pops a deep three. His second from range tonight.
Can really score. Scored 823 points in 2 seasons at Texas Tech. He was brought in to do just that. Score the ball for Greg McDermott.
And 8 early for Pop Isaacs. Spin down to Buchtungel. Inside, and that's a travel. McAndrew pulled the rug out from under him a little bit.
And Kalkbrenner was just looming right in the middle of the paint as well. See Kalkbrenner right there, Kevin. He's just waiting, and you said it. McAndrew kind of just backed the chair out, and a turnover, the first of the game for Nebraska.
Kalkbrenner will sit down. A very quiet first 8 minutes.
0 field goal attempts from Ryan Kalkbrenner in the first 8 minutes.
And 2 rebounds. That's it. Frederick King on the floor for the first time. Here's Isaacs around the King screen. Got a great look at the rebound for Hoiberg.
Excellent screen from King.
Sam Hoiberg. Huskers will set up. Here's Esigian again with Miller trailing, and he uses the window. Open that window on a chilly night in November.
But the confidence from Connor Esigian. Just flying off these screens and with a quick release.
Hoiberg running out on Isaacs. He'll try the 2 on the baseline, and it ends up with the Huskers. 7-point lead for Nebraska. And Ulis says, let's slow it down a little bit.
I think you run something for Esigian again if you can.
Ulis the floater in the lane. Won't go. Offensive rebound. Morgan. That won't go. And King clears it. Now the quick push. McAndrew trying to split. Isaacs step in for 2. Way off on the mid-range. Erka Buchtungel will bring it up.
Just amazing defense so far from Nebraska. Flying around.
He's just 4 of 12 from the floor. Morgan going up, and he's fouled as he went right to left on that baseline. And Morgan will go to the free throw line when we return. 10:47 to go in this first half.
Connor Esigian, instant offense off the bench, flying off these screens, banking it home. The Huskers off to a great start here in Omaha. Holding this high-powered offense of Creighton to just 11 points midway through this first half.
And it was an aggressive job of coaching defense, even up to game day today. We were there at the shoot-around, the practice before the game, and they were really going through the drills defensively. This was a huge emphasis for Nebraska. You heard Fred Hoiberg in that home. You can't get in a running match with these guys.
Done a great job in transition defense, and they've done a nice job on Ryan Kalkbrenner. 0 field goal attempts so far. That has to change if you're Greg McDermott and the Creighton Blue Jays.
Morgan with 2 missed free throws. Pop Isaacs into the teeth of that defense. Back out to Ashworth, and now Kalkbrenner. Oh, the Jays just out of sync offensively. Isaacs with Miller in the corner. And another good defensive trip for the Huskers.
Again, we could hold that one and replay that one. That one was excellent from Nebraska.
Ulis trying to wrap it through traffic, and that'll be a foul. Ulis knocking through Jason Green, commits his first personal. And one of the rare errors for Nebraska in the half court.
Getting a little bit out of control. Aaron Ulis sat out last year, the Iowa transfer. As you see Mason Miller, who's been out with an injury, just returned to practice yesterday. So he gets a quick stint, and now he's back on the bench. But you saw Creighton finally got Kalkbrenner a touch, but Kalkbrenner was worried about where double teams were going to come from.
Neal, skip out to Ashworth for three, and that was blocked. Hoiberg got a piece of that one flying at the shooter.
How about Sam Hoiberg? One of the smallest guys on the floor, getting a block.
Off the arm of Green, now back out for the Huskers with 19 to shoot.
It's an interesting offensive lineup for Nebraska here. Not a ton of scorers on the floor for the Huskers.
They hope that Gavin Griffith is going to become one of those scorers eventually. Buchtungel inside, using the window. Nifty move for the UCLA transfer.
Where size makes a difference. 6'10", Buchtungel able to just go through the contact and still finish over the top of Jason Green.
Isaacs nowhere to go. Has to back it out. Green and a foul. Buchtungel with the foul, his first, just the fourth team foul on the Huskers. And Creighton now working to snap a drought of well over 3 minutes. They're 1 for their last 8 from the floor.
Well, a huge part of Creighton's offense is obviously Kalkbrenner and post-ups. Those have been basically only one true post-up. And then transition has been a big part of Creighton's ability to score the ball. And Nebraska's done a nice job sprinting back and building a wall and not letting Creighton get rolling early in possessions.
So what's the answer for Greg McDermott, one of the best offensive coaches in the game? What is his counter to try to get Kalkbrenner those touches?
Well, I think you have to get him on the move. Clearly, just straight up post-ups where you're loading up and telegraphing it, a double team's going to come. You have to try to get Kalkbrenner either slipping to the rim or rolling to score.
Here's Neal. Trapped along that baseline. He's in some trouble. Finds Ashworth out of the double, and the three will not go. Rebound Mia. Jays are 3 for 12 from 3 in this first half.
Did you see that double team to come on the baseline? No, any dribble to the baseline is going to get doubled.
Griffiths had a good look, just a little strong, and Ashworth starts it up the floor. Now on the run. Can they get it in transition? Here's Green. And the Huskers able to gather again defensively. Creighton will inbound with 21 to shoot. And here comes Bryce Williams. This is a deep Husker team. 10-man rotation for the Huskers so far this year.
And I think Fred Hoiberg's still figuring out that rotation and which combination of players work best together. But all I know is everybody that's taken the floor in red has played really hard tonight.
You've seen 2 good defensive plays from Sam Hoiberg in his minutes. He gets a breather now. They were listening to their lessons today at shoot-around defensively. Here's Kalkbrenner from 3. Way off the mark there, and Griffiths plucks the rebound.
That Kalkbrenner's first shot.
It is. And a steal. Neal to the other end. Here's the highlight.
Maybe that'll get the Blue Jays going because the crowd's been very quiet, and they're rolling now.
See if Nebraska can quiet them here. Bryce Williams, the veteran, probing, gets the jumper to fall.
How good is that? Talk about playing at your own speed. Get Ashworth on his back, hitting that little 10-footer. Just great pace from Bryce Williams offensively.
What a luxury to have a guy like that to just take over. I'll handle this. Everybody calm down.
The crowd gets going, but he stays calm.
Oh, what a play by Braxton Mia trying to get it into the post, and he said no way. And then a foul coming up the floor. Williams bodied at the elbow. It'll be on Pop Isaacs and a timeout in Omaha.
Well, it's been all Nebraska early in this one. But the one highlight has been Jemiah Neal, who is worth the price of admission in the open floor, flying high for the dunk. Back in transition has been excellent. But it takes multiple guys to be able to slow down a guy like Kalkbrenner. You got to have good pressure on the ball, got to have physicality, wrestling in the post. You got to have backside help. It's just been outstanding.
Off the timeout, they find a Sejan who will throw it back up top to Williams. The little bobbles in the handoffs here. There's Wooster around the Mia screen. Hesitates, goes past Kalkbrenner, and the Huskers have their largest lead of the night at 11.
You said it, hesitates. How good was that? Wooster stopped for a second, which got Kalkbrenner to rise up, and he was able to get it over the 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year.
Here's Ashworth. Neal back to Ashworth. Pop Isaacs in the corner. That three halfway down, and the rebound tipped out to Williams.
But the hand in the passing lane made it have to be a bounce pass, which is a little bit different rhythm shooting it. So good weak side scramble defensively.
Gary going right at Kalkbrenner for 2 more. Oh my! Huskers are doubling up the Blue Jays.
That's Juwan Gary. Big, physical, downhill. I know he made his first 3, but that's where Gary's at his best, doing his work in the paint.
And we've got a whistle away from the ball, and that'll be a foul on Braxton Mia. That's his first, team's 5th.
So look at this. What do you do with a shot blocker? You take it at his chest, and that's exactly what Gary did. He put his shoulder right between the number 11 for the Blue Jays and got the layup.
Ashworth looking for someone to get this in. He's got to hurry. Finds Kalkbrenner. That was close to a 5-second count. Isaacs up top, and now the swing.
Did that help collapsing on Kalkbrenner?
And there's Mia, and that'll be the second on Braxton Mia. A little too aggressive for Mia. Now some words exchanged.
Kalkbrenner was yelling and a little upset. I think he feels like Mia's been fouling him. And Kalkbrenner usually is fairly stoic on the floor. Every once in a while, he'll start barking a little bit. I think he's clearly frustrated with how this game's gone.
Now in comes Andrew Morgan again. There's Isaacs. Got Williams in the air. Rotation around to Ashworth. Good look. Off the mark. Rebound to Wooster.
A lot of 3s for the Blue Jays.
Williams on the run. Oh, Kalkbrenner changed that shot, and the rebound ends up with Isaacs. Now Creighton on the run. Neal. Nobody there to help him. Trout in the scramble for 3. And an air ball. Creighton is 3 of 16 from 3.
And 16 of their 20 field goal attempts have been 3s. So Nebraska wanted to take away the paint. And they've done just that, but Creighton's got to try to get some easier shots to diversify their offense.
Juwan Gary inside. Got a good look. He thought he was fouled by Trout. No ball. Here comes Ashworth on the run. The skip to Neal. Hesitates.
Be ready to shoot.
Ashworth will try. Will not hit. Rebound tip to Wooster by Kalkbrenner.
Great block out by Bryce Williams on Kalkbrenner.
See if Nebraska gets it set up in the half court again now. And that'll be a foul on Morgan. Ashworth got picked off by the Morgan screen, and that's a little bit of a concern for Nebraska now. 2 on Morgan, 2 on Mia.
And those 2 guys have been the one wrestling Kalkbrenner. Big hit. And Ashworth, sometimes he gives up his body and just runs into a screen, putting it on the officials. But it's a good point, though, Kevin. The foul trouble at that 5 spot is something to keep an eye on. Because now Buchtengel is guarding Ryan Kalkbrenner. And Buchtengel's more of a skilled big and not as much of a banger.
But there's Gary with the takeaway. Gary to the other end for the 2-hand hammer. And Creighton with a timeout. And the Husker fans in the building starting to get excited.
Wow. This defensive effort has been an A+ from Nebraska. Juwan Gary getting in the passing lane and then leaving no doubt as he finishes it with the flush. This has been incredible. Got Creighton all out of sorts. And Greg McDermott was worried about the turnovers. That's the 6th turnover for the Blue Jays. And Juwan Gary with a little pick 6 for the Huskers.
You see the time on the clock. 4:38 to go in the first half. Creighton hasn't hit a jumper since Pop Isaacs' 3 at the 12:28 mark. I don't know that I've seen a Creighton offensive performance like this in years.
This isn't just Creighton's missing those shots. They're having a hard time getting a clean look, because even of those 17 threes, a lot of them are contested. So Fred Hoiberg said, we have to take away the paint. They've done that, but that's not letting your defense off the hook to say, okay, you just give up threes. No, you got to still sprint out and find a way to contest. But this ball has to get inside the Kalkbrenner.
Only 4 two-point attempts tonight for Creighton. 2 for 4 from 2. There's Trout with Hoiberg running out on him. 10 to shoot again. Ashworth. Shot clock under 5. Isaacs just throws the ball in the air, trying to get a foul, none coming. There's Gary driving at Kalkbrenner. The touch won't fall. Isaacs the rebound.
Going to try to explore here where the defense isn't set.
And Isaacs gets to the rim but can't finish that one off.
And Fred Hoiberg saying slow down. But I think that's where Creighton's got to try to find some offense in the open floor, having a really hard time, obviously, going against the half-court set defense from Nebraska.
Only 2 fast break points for the Jays in this first half. Of course, only 13 points total as Buchtengel driving inside is fouled by Jemiah Neal. That'll be foul number 1 on Neal. 5th foul on the Blue Jays, and the Nebraska Cornhuskers coming into hostile territory and leading by 15. 3:34 to go in this opening half. Creighton is 5 of 22 from the floor, 3 of 17 from 3. They've hit just 1 of their last 13 shots, and after the foul on Neal, Nebraska heads back to the free throw line where they've outscored Creighton 3-0, but they've had 7 attempts to Creighton's 0. So just think of that. Where Nebraska has thrived this year has been at the line. This score could be more lopsided.
Nebraska's done just an excellent job taking away Kalkbrenner. He's not scored. But they've also protected the paint, but they've been able to recover and contest these three-point jump shots. Again, 17 of Creighton's 22 field goal attempts have been threes. So this has just been a masterclass in taking away the post, taking away the paint, and contesting threes.
So now Ty Davis in to bring the ball up, maybe freeing Ashworth up for something. Here's Neal trying to work against Gary, nothing doing.
Going to be ready to shoot on the backside when they're sinking into help. See where Gary's at? So on these skip passes, got to be ready to shoot.
Dangerous pass for McAndrew, 6 to shoot. Here's Davis, bumped by Hoiberg, 2 to shoot, 1 to shoot. Davis just hoists it up. It's an air ball and a shot clock violation. Nebraska's defense is absolutely stifling the Creighton Blue Jays.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. That guy right there, Sam Hoiberg, he knows his identity as a player is flying around, getting stops, and he's done just that.
Well, he will need no ID to show that identity tonight. Huskers to work again inside, and a foul's called. And you see the game plan with Juwan Gary. He's using that physicality, Nick, to go right at Creighton.
And Jackson McAndrew, the freshman, a talented one, but he's still a little thin. And Gary is anything but that. He knows where the weight room is, and he takes Jackson McAndrew. That was a drive just to draw a foul. Like, I'm driving it right at McAndrew. I'm drawing a foul. I'm going to get to the line.
Where he's been very good this year. In fact, Nebraska as a team came in 25th in the nation, nearly 80% from the line, which is surprising to see him at 5 for 10 at the stripe. A 10-0 run for the Huskers over nearly 5 minutes of game action, and this crowd is stunned.
I don't know how you play better defensively. I really don't. Try to get a throw over the top with Kalkbrenner. You see where Bryce Williams at? Just hanging in the lane.
McAndrew contested 3 will splash down, and that'll break the 11-0 run.
And that's where whoever's helping to try to take away Kalkbrenner, that guy's got to be ready to shoot. He's got to be able to make shots. It was McAndrew's guy there, and McAndrew's hits a rainbow 3.
There's Wooster. Back to Buchtengel. Off the shot fake. Pivots, spins. Jumper short. McAndrew the rebound. Now Creighton looking to run. Ashworth probing the Neal. Here's Kalkbrenner inside, and a foul is called. And what did you say, Nick? They were able to get it going in the transition game, finding Kalkbrenner on the run.
So the early post-up, the defense isn't set, so that help defense isn't there. So Kalkbrenner was able to sprint down, start wedging for position, and a good delivery, and finally a little bit of what Kalkbrenner can do. Post up, draw foul.
And that's the second on Butengel. So big time foul trouble now in the post. It forces Fred Hoiberg to bring Braxton Mia with 2 fouls back into the game for the final 2:09.
But that's the beauty of having not 1, not 2, but 3 of them.
Yeah.
So you think about it, you got 15 fouls between the 3 of those guys.
Interesting final couple of minutes here, Nick, because Creighton with that 3 from McAndrew, they get down the floor, 1 for 2 for Kalkbrenner. There's still time to make this a very manageable deficit when you get into the locker room. There's Williams. Look at that patience from Williams. Got a good look, just strong. Ashworth, long pass ahead. Neal, almost on that baseline, stepped out. Kalkbrenner finding Ashworth. Ashworth again. Kalkbrenner posting. Mia with 2 fouls, and then the foul is called. Is it Williams who came over in the front? Nope, it's Mia who has his 3rd.
Good job by Ashworth to dribble to the middle, but then come back to the post-up, knowing that the one-on-one post-up opportunity was there. You saw that handful of jersey, where it's tough for Kalkbrenner. You haven't gotten the ball, you haven't gotten going, but you have to keep on posting up hard because you are racking up fouls on these frontline players for Nebraska.
Something to watch in that second half for sure. Kalkbrenner with 1 first half point, and the front end is good. He'll get the bonus. Huskers have not hit a field goal in the last 3 minutes and 5 seconds. And the 18-point lead has been chipped down to 13. And now 12. Important possession here for Nebraska, Nick. Because here comes this crowd.
Fred Hoiberg was trying to call a timeout, but no one saw it.
Cale Jacobson on the floor for the first time tonight. Here comes Williams driving, and he draws the contact and the foul. 2 shots coming for Williams after the personal on Jemiah Neal.
It's one where I think Jemiah Neal, once Williams had the ball, you maybe needed to back up a little bit, understanding the late clock situation. And Kalkbrenner, because this is a small lineup, he's guarding Gary. So you see Kalkbrenner's out on the perimeter, not usually where he's at. So you used to having Kalkbrenner erase things at the rim. Instead it was Pop Isaacs sitting there. But a good job by Bryce Williams to just drive it late.
One more for Williams. And how often have we seen it in this first half, Nick, when Nebraska's needed somebody to calm it down? 3 or 4, Williams or Gary. Those have been the 2 guys they've looked to.
You figured that'd be the case. Those are the 2 returners off this NCAA tournament team a year ago. So right now, Gary will likely be the one wrestling Ryan Kalkbrenner inside. So the ball pressure has to be there for Nebraska on the perimeter to not let the ball go in. Or you'd wonder if Fred Hoiberg will sprinkle some sort of zone in here given the foul trouble situation. Well, let's see.
Coming up on a minute to play in this first half.
It's Cale Jacobson, the walk-on from Ashland, guarding Kalkbrenner.
And a foul on Hoiberg. That's the 10th team foul. Ashworth's getting 2 with 1:02 to play in this first half.
Welcome just wiped through that arm. That Ashworth's smart. He knows how to draw fouls. So Hoiberg was up on him, had that hand in his chest, so he just swipes through that hand and draws a foul.
Stephen, a new dad over the last few months. He's got plenty of time at the middle of the night feedings to think about how to swipe through the hand of Sam Hoiberg. What most dads think about when they're up in the middle of the night. What if Sam Hoiberg's defending me? What do I do?
What do I do? Do I swing through?
There's Williams and Wooster. Esijan. Gary will try from deep. Long rebound into the arms of Ashworth. Now he'll push. Kalkbrenner leaking out. Isaacs in transition three.
Kevin, what a catch and pass from Ryan Kalkbrenner. Wow.
We talked about it at the 2:10 mark. A big 2 minutes left in this half. Creighton able to chip from 18 and cut it in half.
And we also talked about the importance of Creighton getting out in transition. Kalkbrenner ahead of the pack. That's an amazing catch from a 7-footer to catch it, control it, and deliver it to a trailing Pop Isaac and hit him in the shooting pocket. And Isaac's ready to shoot and drills it and finally gets this Blue Jay crowd roaring a little bit. But it's a great call from you. It's a really important 2 minutes. All things considered, Nebraska has been almost flawless defensively, and now Creighton's got this thing into single digits. The foul trouble has loomed large as this first half wore on. Having to go small with Juwan Gary just gets you a little bit out of sorts offensively and defensively.
And the Huskers haven't hit a field goal in the last 4 minutes and 11 seconds. 24.8 seconds to play in this opening half. About a second and a half difference between game and shot clock.
I like the ball in this guy's hands. I'd hold it for this entire possession and then go to work. Got the walk-on Shane Thomas on you, a redshirt freshman. Has not played a lot of basketball, but he is strong.
To work he goes with 7. Bumped by his own guy, Esijan. Can't get him out of the way. Williams to work with 2 to shoot. 1 to shoot, and it falls! Williams with the 2, and halftime arrives with a double-digit lead for the visitors from Lincoln.
Incredible poise and strength. And usually those two things come from experience. And that is Bryce Williams. Played in the NCAA tournament a year ago for the Huskers, getting downhill, taking the contact, and hitting a big one to close the half. A great one from Nebraska.
Huskers lead by 11 at halftime. 35-24, holding Creighton to 28% shooting in the first half. Plenty of basketball coming up in Omaha. Creighton and Nebraska, this great intrastate rivalry. An 11-point lead. We'll have more from Omaha after the break. The second half for the Blue Jays, and with the foul problems, Andrew Morgan will start the second half in the post for the Big Red. 20 minutes to go in Omaha. These first 4 feel really huge.
Nebraska has to reassert themselves defensively, which can be hard to do because it takes a lot of effort to play as hard as they did for that first 20 minutes.
Shot clock down to 12. And the Jays find a good shot. They struggled in the half court to do that in the first half. Ashworth with 4 to shoot. Lob into Kalkbrenner, too tall, and that's saying something for a 7-footer.
Excellent on-ball pressure. Nowhere to go. Creighton never got the ball really inside the 3-point line until that dangerous pass.
We saw a lot of that in the first half. Finjel back to Morgan.
Morgan is capable of stepping out and shooting a 3, something to just keep an eye on.
Williams, a rare poor decision. He saw Isaacs get in the air and he wanted to try to coax the foul, but was not in his body enough to do that. Isaacs now will try the 3, and the rebound for Buchtengel. And then Neal after the sloppy pass with the takeaway, and Neal with the hammer.
Boy, is he bouncy or what? Ooh, wow.
Transfer from Arizona State to Creighton this year. And Neal on the board for the first time tonight. Rather 4 points now for Neal.
I like to try to get Gary in the post on Pop Isaacs if you can.
Wooster's 3. Karams to Kalkbrenner. Isaacs on the run. Jays in transition. Pop Isaacs underneath, and a travel.
I thought Pop Isaacs had Jemiah Neal for a lob. And instead turned it down, but just a second ago, Burkhead, you can tell, trying to just throw the ball back to Bryce Williams. Neal gets it, and talk about explosive. 2 dribbles, top floor, Jemiah Neal. But here, Kevin, you look, Pop Isaacs is guarding Juwan Gary. You don't want to get stagnant, but you have to punish Creighton for this matchup and try to get Gary in the post.
There he goes, calling for it in that left block. Kalkbrenner out really helping deny Williams in all kinds of trouble, and a tie-up. It'll stay with Nebraska. But that was interesting. A switch and a change from halftime for Greg McDermott.
No doubt, Kalkbrenner, the master of drop coverage. Instead, he blitzes the ball screen, catches Bryce Williams off guard, ties him up for a jump ball.
So now 15 to shoot for the Huskers. Wooster, baseline jumper, and the rebound and put back for Buchtengel. 11-point game. That's where we were at halftime. Neal, the 3. Huskers are going to be happy if he takes that shot. He's thrown up several tonight, and they've not looked great.
Much better driving the ball to the basket, but he's got to take the in-rhythm obvious ones. I'm not sure that was an in-rhythm obvious one.
0 for 3 now behind the arc for Neal tonight. Wooster may have gotten away with a walk there.
Official saying he bobbled the ball.
Williams probing, driving, using the window no. The tip from Gary won't go, and the long rebound out to Pop Isaacs on the run. Isaacs end to end, but Buchtengel is there. Here's McAndrew in transition. That 3 won't go. Kalkbrenner the offensive rebound. Isaacs, open 3. Off again, and a foul underneath. That'll be on the freshman Jackson McAndrew.
0 for 4 from 3 to start this second half. Couple of good clean ones from Pop Isaac, couple of contested ones from McAndrew and Jemiah Neal. But ultimately, Creighton's going to have to knock down some of these open jump shots that they do get.
Creighton 21% from 3 tonight, 5 of 24.
And again, 24 of their 30 field goal attempts are from 3. So Nebraska's just shut off the paint completely.
Very reminiscent of the matchup 2 years ago in Omaha. Buchtengel will try the 3. That's off. Rebound, Gary springing against Pop Isaacs.
Where Pop Isaacs has to jump. If you jump, you're able to get the over the back call.
Buchtengel to the free throw line. 10 to shoot for Wooster. Weaving through the baseline. 5 on the shot clock. Morgan quickly to Gary for 3. They use the whole clock, and Gary blows a kiss for 3.
Well, what did you say, Kevin? Whenever Nebraska's needed a big play, it's been number 3, Bryce Williams, and number 4, Juwan Gary.
14 now for Gary. Here's Isaacs. He'll try again from 3 and finds the range. He knew that was good.
And that was good ball reversal. You got that defense rotating and you were ready to shoot.
Back to an 11-point game. And there's Isaacs with the steal. Ashworth, open 3. Here come the Jays.
Well, Kevin, it starts with the wrinkle on trapping the ball screen, getting the steal for Pop Isaacs. Perfect timing. Ashworth ready to let it fly, and he does just that. Look out. Here come the Blue Jays.
Creighton as close as they've been since the 8:01 mark in the first half. It's an 8-point game with 15:35 to play.
A little bit of an adjustment here from Greg McDermott. Instead of drop coverage, you're trapping the ball screen. So look at Jemiah Neal hard on the ball, and look at Pop Isaacs, number 2 in white, on the baseline. He's going to rotate to steal off of that trap of the ball screen, and then perfect timing. He lets Ashworth get to the three-point line so he just can catch and shoot. What a great sequence from Pop Isaacs, defense and offense.
So now the first time tonight that the building is really hyped up. First time tonight that Nebraska had a defensive breakdown that cost them significantly. How do they answer on this end of the floor?
Well, I like the ball in Bryce Williams' hands.
Here's a Sejan around the screen. Needs some help. Wooster to work against Isaacs. Inside, and Wooster with the touch.
That's just strength. Again, Creighton's got some small guards out there in Isaacs and Ashworth, and you have to make Creighton pay and take them into the paint.
One of Greg McDermott's big concerns today, the physicality of Nebraska. Neal challenging Gary. Count the bucket, and one at the line.
Pretty simple, Kevin. Play to your strengths. Jamiah Neal, athletic and strong, driving to the basket on Juwan Gary. Through the contact, trying to get three the hard way on the other side.
We have got a good one brewing now. 42-34. Creighton going to the line for one more. 5 minutes in to this second half. Our stat comparison is sponsored by Jeep. There's only one, and you look at what this team is doing now in the second half. Creighton's starting to come to life a little bit.
Trying. And any sign of life is an advancement from the first half in terms of making shots. But certainly 26 field goal or 26 three-point attempts has been what Creighton has had to do. They're 2 for 6 in this second half. But you and I were just talking. It is still remarkable that Ryan Kalkbrenner has yet to make a field goal, and he's only attempted one.
Again, this is a guy who in the opener scored 49 points against UTRGV, and they needed every one of those. 7-point game in Omaha. Does Nebraska have an answer? Gary will try to provide inside with the left hand. That won't go, and a foul called inside on Kalkbrenner, battling with Braxton Mia, and for Kalkbrenner, he picks up his first.
Love the set play to get Juwan Gary isolated on Isaac Trout and drive it at him, and Mia at 7'1", able to wedge in and draw a foul.
Wooster got Isaacs in the air, and he'll go to the line. There's that strength again that you were talking about from Wooster.
And here's what Pop Isaacs has never played with Ryan Kalkbrenner until this year. And that one, wall up, because guess who's coming to clean it up? Ryan Kalkbrenner is behind you. You have to understand you are playing with the 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. You don't need to foul. Just wall up and let Kalkbrenner come block it or alter it.
That's got to be a huge adjustment for a guard or a forward to be playing with somebody like Kalkbrenner who cleans up all your messes underneath.
Yeah, it's something you have to get used to trust that that guy right there is looming behind you and going to clean everything up.
And Wooster, like a veteran, part of an old Nebraska team. They may not be old together, but they're old individually. And that's a calming play from a veteran guard. Entry to Kalkbrenner, and a foul is going to be called.
But how about the vision from Rolly Wooster to come in that weak side and tie him up? That was, I know he got a foul, but that was impressive weak side defense.
Very close
Wooster.
to a tie-up.
Yes.
Just got him on the arm. There's the lob into Kalkbrenner. And that's a travel. Trout shuffled the feet.
Again, it's tough. Trout's more of a catch and shoot guy coming off a handoff there. You're just not quite used to it. You're a little sped up. I think Wooster or Gary or Bryce Williams, those guys driving the ball to the basket, it really paid off. Here, Wooster's going to back down Pop Isaacs.
Kalkbrenner under there to help out if needed. Wooster turning, using the window, and Neal the rebound.
I like that shot, though.
Isaacs curling. Neal with the touch to the open Ashworth. A little bit strong, and we've got a whistle and a foul. Mia tangled up with Kalkbrenner, and that's going to be number 4 on Nebraska's big man.
And that's a big one. And Kalkbrenner That's the 6th foul he's drawn. So his physicality, even though it's not manifesting itself in made shots or even field goal attempts, he's getting Nebraska's front line into foul trouble.
And that's out of bounds. Ashworth lost it. Good defense from Bryce Williams. Pat Driscoll right there on a call. Really good crew tonight. Pratt Driscoll, James Breeding, Keith Kimball, all guys with loads of NCAA tournament experience.
And I think Ashworth was trying to bait a foul, and I like that the officials didn't take the bait there.
Angel turns down the 3. 15 still on the shot clock. Williams looking, leaning. Window not open this time for Williams. Oh, Buchtengel, good hands, and then a foul is going to be called. It'll be on Kalkbrenner. That's his second. A little push on the UCLA transfer to get him out of bounds.
I think that's a frustration foul. But Jemiah Neal's got to see the whole picture. Buchtengel has him fronted, and Wooster's there. There's nowhere to go with that ball. You have to take what the defense is giving you. I know you want to try to get Kalkbrenner involved, but you can't force feed it in there.
I will say that Berka Buchtengel clearly found the drama department at UCLA and got a class or two in.
You said it.
Essegian on the run. He had Miller on his hip. Good play by Connor Essegian.
He's taken a couple of those off quick screens, so instead he catches and gets downhill.
And now we've got a whistle and the foul underneath, and Buchtengel and Kalkbrenner, like two trees in the forest, go tumbling down. And this time it'll be on Buchtengel.
See if that drama department shows itself again. Let's see underneath. Ooh, Kalkbrenner might have gone to the drama department on that one.
Now you attended Creighton University. I've not thought of Creighton as a great drama school, but maybe they've improved.
Maybe they've evolved. Maybe they've changed.
Miller inbound, taken away by the veteran Jawan Gary.
That's called a grown man just muscling it away, baiting him into throwing that pass and then going and getting it.
That physicality that Greg McDermott was so worried about has showed up tonight. Here's Essegian inside, gets the roll. Connor Essegian, back-to-back excellent plays. The Wisconsin transfer into double figures with 10.
Big time.
Here's Isaacs, gets into the paint, leaning inside, draws the foul. Huskers back by 13 behind Connor Essegian's 10 points. And the foul on Sam Hoiberg.
Well, Essegian's one of those guys that can run off screens and shoot. He took a couple of threes off those handoffs in the first half, so the defense is really pressed out, and Essegian able to just snake on in there and finish. It's a good player who was on the all-freshman team in the Big Ten 2 years ago at Wisconsin.
Well, and if you could recapture that year where he averaged almost 12 a game for Wisconsin, coming out of Central Noble High School, where he was a 2,500 point scorer. Man, I don't care what level you're playing at, you score 2,500 points in high school, you're doing something.
Yes, and not only is he talented, he fits in Fred Hoiberg's system, and he fits a need given the departure of Keisei Tominaga.
Well, and we've seen it in the second half. What did Keisei do? He would get to the basket.
Yes. He was underrated at getting to the rim and finishing. But that threat of the three-point shot sets it all up.
On Essegian, like Tominaga, constantly moving without the ball. Gets to the elbow, finds his shot, and hits it again. Essegian's heating up, and the Huskers lead by 14.
Ran through at least 4 or 5 different screens from one side to the other and finds the mid-range. Right now, those Huskers are headhunting Essegian's man, and Essegian's making great plays.
Neal to work. Clock under 15. Ashworth will back it out to Trout. Ashworth in the scramble for 3. Oh, what a shot from Stephen Ashworth. Off balance, and he gets it to fall.
Lightning quick release from Ashworth.
Where's Essegian? He's had the hot hand. Ulis will drive. Ulis with the bucket and the foul. Oh my, Aaron Ulis with the English. and a chance for one more at the line.
Well, talk about all hands on deck with your bench making an impact. Aaron Eulis shot out of a cannon, up softly off the window. The Huskers are rolling in Omaha.
52-39, Nebraska, 11:35 remaining in the second half here in Omaha. Sunday on FS1, it's a massive early season women's college hoop showdown as top-ranked South Carolina heads out to the West Coast to take on number 5 UCLA. It all tips off at 4 p.m. Eastern, only on FS1. We're living in a time where we saw just not too long ago a brand new winningest head coach in NCAA history, Gino Auriemma. We showed you earlier Greg McDermott becoming the winningest coach in Creighton history, and he's about halfway to Gino as far as the total number of wins. Here's Eulis to the line to try to cash in on a three-point play. Can't get that to go, and there's Gary with the rebound. He thought he was fouled, and the rebound to Kalkbrenner. Ashworth now. Pop Isaacs will launch from 3. In and out. Kalkbrenner, offensive rebound, and he's fouled. Juwan Gary challenging, picks up the personal foul. That's just his second. And Kalkbrenner, who still is without a made bucket tonight, will go to the line.
And you may be wondering, how is he not getting any touches? Nebraska's fronting him, meaning they're sitting in front of him on the post, and then there's backside help there, and there's pressure on the ball. So there's just not opportunities to throw it into him. And Nebraska then in transition defensively has done a good job sprinting back and getting him organized.
Well, and as a result, only 7 two-point attempts tonight. Everything else from 3 and 2 missed free throws. Kalkbrenner stays at those 3 points you saw on your screen.
Creighton 8 of 29 from 3. Ultimately, they're going to have to make some shots. There's a lot of game left, but somebody's going to step up and score from 3.
Boy, who's stepping up? How about Connor Essegian? He almost got the and one. He'll have to settle for 2 at the line as Kalkbrenner picks up his 3rd personal foul.
Well, how about Essegian's movement off the ball? In the first half, he was running off screens to shoot threes. This half, he's running off screens to curl and get into the lane. He's showing his versatility and being able to read, sprinting off these various screening actions all over the floor.
About to utter a sentence that doesn't get uttered often in a Creighton game. One more foul and Nebraska's in the bonus.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. Creighton averaging under 10 fouls per game. They've committed 13 tonight. 11.5 all of last year. They've gone 57 straight games without a player fouling out, and now a turnover. A wing-to-wing pass, the skip too tall for Ashworth, and he went down.
All of a sudden, you're missing shots. You're out of sorts. Ashworth is tripping over himself. Kalkbrenner just missed 2 free throws. Creighton is frustrated right now, and it's all because of Nebraska.
And you're under 11 minutes to go now, and this crowd is really uncomfortable, and they have been for most of the night. Essegian.
Look at him. He's just running everywhere, and Ashworth's chasing him.
Hoiberg whips it back out to Eulis. Eulis spinning inside. 9 to shoot. Boy, Essegian's working his tail off. Hasn't got much of a touch. Hoiberg inside against Kalkbrenner. Goes reverse. No, but Morgan there to follow.
Gonna have somebody rotating to take away. Kalkbrenner trying to block the shot.
Ashworth hunting for a 3. Can't get the roll. Gary climbing the ladder. One-armed man with a rebound.
That guy is the alpha male out there on the floor.
Eulis inside, has to get rid of it. Now Gary will try. Essegian, he's feeling it. Oh, Jemiah Neal says no, not tonight. Ahead to Pop Isaacs on the run. Isaac going past Hoiberg for 2.
Haven't had very many of those opportunities. True numbers, fast break, and Creighton immediately converts. Still a lot of game left. Creighton can't totally lose their mind, and Nebraska has to keep their foot on the pedal.
But in this instance, the foot on the pedal doesn't necessarily mean go faster.
could be the brake pedal in this instance.
How about Gary to the rim? Jawan Gary with 16 tonight.
Been the best player on the floor.
Kalkbrenner on the bounce to Isaacs and out of bounds. A turnover slipped through his hands, and it'll belong to the Big Red with 9:16 to go. Pop Isaacs wanted a foul.
Nebraska's just been active for 16 Blue Jay turnovers.
That is a massive number for Creighton. They averaged on the year 13. Their turnover margin was -3. And a 16-point advantage as the Huskers will bring it up. Morgan. Looking around Hoiberg. Hoiberg weaving through the trees. Back to Morgan from deep. That won't go, and Isaacs the rebound. Here to the Blue Jays look. Isaacs and a foul up top. Just the seventh team foul on Nebraska. And a 1-and-1 opportunity coming up.
It's hard, but the more Creighton can try to attack in the broken floor early in possessions, because when Nebraska's gotten their half-court defense set, it's really been problematic for Creighton to get open shots. So that was wasn't a fast break, but that was early in the clock. You were able to drive and draw a foul.
End is good for Isaacs. Hop with 18 tonight, but 6 of 15 from the floor to get those 18 points. 2 for 2 on that trip. Like you said, Nick, a ton of time. 8:47 and counting to play in this one.
And even though they've been cold, the way Creighton can shoot, they can erase a lead. And now some 1-3-1 zone, very rarely used from the Blue Jays.
How will Nebraska attack this zone? Wooster will try. Nothing there.
You got no Connor Esigian on the floor, so your shooters on the bench.
Ulis in the corner for 3. Got a good look from Wooster, but the 3 off from Ulis.
See if Greg McDermott will go back to that 1-3-1 until Nebraska scores.
Not been Ulis's game as a Husker. 0 for 7 from 3. It's been Ashworth's game, but that 3 off. He was a step deeper than he normally is, although he's got a ton of range. Slide under 8 to go in this one.
Back man to man.
Williams against Isaacs. Spinning inside, and there's a foul. Isaacs picks up the personal. That's his 4th timeout in Omaha. Pop Isaacs a moment ago with his 4th personal foul. He's led the way for the Jays, really the only offensive threat tonight with 19 points, but the reason he's been the offensive threat is that the Jays have really struggled to shoot the basketball.
Really struggled. 8 of 31 from 3. Some of them have been open, some of them have been contested. Nebraska's done an excellent job completely shutting off the paint and post-ups for Kalkbrenner, and it's led to a lot of long-range threes for the Creighton Blue Jays, and they've had a really rough night shooting the basketball. You got to tip your cap to Nebraska, but you look at that three-point line in the paint. Fred Hoiberg talked about you have to shut down the paint. And the issue last year in that loss was, look, you get pretty balanced. You got 36 points in the paint and 42 points from 3. Today, only 10 points in the paint. Nebraska has completely shut off that area of the floor, and they've done a nice job of at least contesting all of the three-point opportunities for the Blue Jays.
Again, Ryan Kalkbrenner in 108 career starts only has 1 game without a made field goal. February 8th of 2022 here in this building against Butler. Kalkbrenner is 0 for 1 from the floor. He's got his rebounding numbers. He's got 10 boards, but only 3 points all at the line.
Kevin, right now, 79% of Creighton shots tonight have been threes. At some point, that's just too many. You have to try to get the ball inside. Here you're trying to get Kalkbrenner on the move. Esijan helps. The ball's got to get into the paint.
Ashworth will try another three, and he'll hit.
Or you can just knock down a three.
That's the other option there.
Yes, but at least you tried to look inside and collapse the defense a little bit. And I'm not saying not to shoot threes, but you got to make sure you're taking the right ones and you're trying to get Kalkbrenner involved.
Ashworth with 14. Morgan under 10 to shoot for the Huskers. Wooster against the freshman. 3 on the shot clock, and Wooster's shot blocked. And the Huskers give it back to Creighton. Ashworth around Kalkbrenner, weaving inside. And again, Wooster there to block him off. The old teammates at Utah State. Mason Miller for 3. And punched out of bounds by Morgan. It'll stay with the Jays, down 13, 9 to shoot.
9 on the clock here.
And here comes Mia back in with 4 fouls.
He's going to check, see if it hit the rim.
Yep, they're going to look at this to see, did it hit? Is there a shot clock reset?
See, Mason Miller
previous play is under review for a timing error.
Attempt from the left corner.
Mason just.
All things considered, Creighton's not
After
completely
review,
out
the
of
ball
this
hit the
thing.
rim. The shot clock will be reset to 20 seconds.
Shot clock back to 20. Everybody getting a free timeout as a result.
Here's one of the things, though, that's an issue for Creighton, though, is they're not a team that's built to full court press or pressure you or turn you over. That's not really what they do defensively. So they're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way of just getting stops, converting, getting stops, converting. They're not going to pick up full court or anything like that. That's not how Creighton plays.
Kalkbrenner. Jays to work. 6.5 to play in this one. McAndrew looking for the 3 and finding it in the corner. Here comes the crowd. And a foul. Ashworth fighting through Esijan and a screen, and Ashworth picks up his second.
Now that opposite side of the floor, and McAndrew at 6'10", that size helped him able to shoot over the top of the contest from Gary. And then Connor Esijan is doing such a good job running off screen. Sometimes, Kevin, what you want to do is you start sprinting off a screen, you just stop. And you let a little fender bender because the defense is trying to chase you, and then they barrel into you. It's just a smart play from Connor Esijan.
Little break check.
That's it.
Esijan has best game as a Husker tonight, and the front of the 1-on-1 is good. He's got 14 points, and this is the role that they envision Connor Esijan playing at Nebraska.
In only 16 minutes.
Yeah.
You talk about instant offense and being productive. That's not the easiest thing in the world in short spurts to come in and be in a rhythm offensively, but he's done it.
Got a foul away from the ball. Wooster working against his old Utah State teammate.
I think Ashworth did the same thing Esijan did. He was running over to set a cross screen for Jemiah Neal, and he just stopped and let Wooster run into him.
Wooster in his 106th career start tonight. Talk about Nebraska being old. 9 players with 3 or more years of college basketball on this roster. One more for Ashworth.
I think that's one thing Fred Hoiberg's learned in his time in Lincoln. The Big Ten It's an older league, and it's a big and physical league. So he's built a team that's old and big.
10-point game again with 6 to play.
Probably Morris Siege and Creighton running off screens here.
You get dizzy just watching him off the ball.
And keep in mind, Ashworth's played the whole game.
Here's Wooster driving on Miller. Kalkbrenner there to clean it up, and a foul on Gary.
Good job by Jackson McAndrew to rotate to the front of the rim because Kalkbrenner was going to block the shot, so you got to rotate over. And Gary just a little late and barrels over the top of Jackson McAndrew.
So Mia leaves. Buchtengel comes back in. Foul on Gary. His third. And the 1-and-1 on the other end for McAndrew. First attempts tonight. He's 10 of 14 on the year. And back to a single-digit deficit for the Blue Jays. It was 11 at halftime in favor of Nebraska. 2 for 2 for McAndrew. 8-point game. Pivotal moment in Omaha. And a turnover.
Again, trapping these ball screens have forced a couple of turnovers in big spots. Was expecting a switch. Instead, it's a trap. Booster thinks Buchtengel is raising up the floor. Instead, it's a turnover.
And now the Jays trying to cash in. Down 8. Here's McAndrew. The freshman just off, but Miller there for the offensive board. Ashworth will try. 2 good looks, 0 points. Buchtengel with the rebound.
Boy, 2 great looks.
And an exhale from the folks in Lincoln. 5 to play.
I like this matchup, Gary and McAndrew.
He'll go to work on the freshman with Kalkbrenner looming. Dumps it down to Buchtengel. Cut to 2.
Big time play from Juwan Gary to see the dump down pass.
Ashworth blocked off. Wooster calling a travel. He has no stripes on. Ashworth will try from 3. That's off. May have been a force as Kalkbrenner saves it. But wait, Ashworth's hurt. Ashworth is down on the floor, writhing in pain.
If he maybe landed on Wooster's foot when he took that jump shot. Well, he is in a lot of pain.
Oh my.
He's played every minute in this basketball game.
And he's played well. Part of the heart and soul of this Blue Jay team. And a picture or 2 or 3 say 1,000 words there.
Watch Ashworth when he lands. Ooh, that right ankle, like it just rolled out.
Right there. Oh my.
Tough.
Tough injury, tougher player. Stephen Ashworth, preseason 3rd team All Big East. Came in averaging 16 per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and the sight no Creighton fan wants to see as Stephen Ashworth is helped off the floor.
Can't even put weight on it. His conditioning has been outstanding. Chasing a siege and handling the ball. And now Pop Isaacs is probably going to have to handle the ball at that point guard spot for the remainder of this game.
Back in with 4 fouls. Neal trying to be aggressive, fades away, pinballs out. Buchtengel with the rebound.
Good individual one-on-one defense, forcing a tough mid-range contested 2.
10-point game. Creighton has to overcome a 10-point deficit and also the loss of their leader on the floor, Stephen Ashworth. Here's a Sejan over Kalkbrenner. No. Rebound tipped out of bounds. It'll belong to Creighton. 4:04 to go.
Gary coming in after every rebound right now and almost grabbed another.
Looked like it just went off his left hand.
Can't get that ball inside right now. Help side defense, front in the post has really been good for Nebraska.
Shot clock at 7. Neal having to hunt against Williams, trying to cross him over. Buchtengel there to help, and Kalkbrenner has it knocked out of his hands on the way up. It'll be a foul. It'll send Kalkbrenner to the line. Wooster with the personal, and a timeout in Omaha with the Huskers trying to hang on for the upset. 3:35 to play in this one. Nebraska 63, Creighton 53. And rarely when we show you a foul trouble graphic does Creighton have anything of note to mention on this, but Pop Isaacs' 4 fouls becomes even more significant with the injury to Stephen Ashworth. If Ashworth's not able to get back out there, they've got to have Pop Isaacs on the floor to handle the basketball.
No question. It's the one area that Creighton's roster is a little thin in the backcourt in terms of ball handling. And Stephen Ashworth on the shelf right now after rolling that ankle. So Pop Isaacs cannot pick up that 5th personal foul.
Kalkbrenner 3 for 6 at the line tonight. 2 free throws coming.
Still just 1 field goal attempt. And from Ryan Kalkbrenner.
And it was a 3. He has had no 2-point attempts.
Incredible.
And 1 for 2 at the line with a siege in there for the rebound. Huskers 1 for their last 7 from the floor. Jays haven't had a field goal go through in almost 3 minutes. With Nick Baugh and our entire crew, Kevin Kugler in Omaha. Jawan Gary kept the dribble alive, and back out it goes to Wooster, playing with 4 fouls. 6 to shoot. Wooster over Miller, gets the jumper to fall. What a bucket for a guy who was 2 for 9 before that shot.
And that was excellent. Chewed the clock and got a good shot for Wooster.
Neal. Here's Isaacs. Leaning inside, short on the shot. Buchtengel with a rebound for Nebraska. 2:42 to go. And the Huskers going to get a little conservative as they bring this one up, even more so. That clock their friend right now.
Just letting Sejan run off these screens.
Buchtengel, he's going to try a 3. In and out. That could have been the dagger, but it wouldn't go down. Isaacs now will push. He's got to initiate the offense. Neal. Back out it goes to Isaacs for 3. Too strong. Rebound. Miller has it. Throws it up to Wooster. Wooster on the run to the other end of the floor. Driving on Isaacs. Count to 2. Under 2 to play, and Nebraska by 13. McAndrew. No on the 3. Buchtengel another rebound. His 9th and a foul. And Nebraska's starting to feel it.
They can smell it. Raleigh Wooster, the veteran, coming up big. Buchtengel getting an in-traffic rebound, being strong.
Well, and look who's on the floor to close this out for Nebraska. Williams, multiple years. Wooster, multiple years. Buchtenjel, the youngest of them, a sophomore with just 1 year under his belt. A Sejan who leaves now for Sam Hoiberg, both with multiple years of Division I experience. And the man you call the alpha male tonight, Juwan Gary. This is an old, physical team. And they're about to pull a major upset, barring a late Creighton rally. And Blue Jay fans have started to head to the exits in Omaha.
It's one of the best 40 minutes of defense I've seen in a while. And did a little bit of everything. Forced turnovers, pressured the ball, took away the paint, took away the All-American Kalkbrenner. Just an incredible effort from a team that you could tell was locked in this afternoon at shoot-around.
Miller will try the three, way off the mark. Creighton is 10 of 40 from three. 2 years ago, when Nebraska won 63-53 in this building, Creighton was 10 of 40 from three.
So now the last 3 times Nebraska and Creighton have hooked up, Creighton has attempted 43s in all 3 games, and that is a school record for three-point field goal attempts in a game.
And you saw that upcoming schedule, Nick. There's some folks taking notes across the country. Nebraska may have just provided a blueprint for how to defend Ryan Kalkbrenner and this Creighton team. Now, Creighton is not always going to be 10 of 40 from three.
And not everybody can do what Nebraska did.
Correct.
Where you got 3 bigs shuffling in and out. The communication and the effort from the perimeter players have been fantastic in terms of being there and weak side help. So it's one thing to see a blueprint. It's another thing to execute it. But this game was, in terms of a defensive effort, very similar to that Purdue blueprint against Zach Edey a year ago. But there's just no substitute for effort. And Nebraska, from the moment this game started, has played harder than Creighton, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
And we've seen Greg McDermott try everything. He threw a random 1-3-1 zone out. I mean, he's tried a little bit of everything. You look at Nebraska's upcoming schedule. South Dakota, North Florida's a sneaky good team.
Yes.
And then you start conference play, and it's not an easy start. At Michigan State, and then Indiana comes calling on Fox on December 13th.
How about Fred Hoiberg, though? Big Ten Coach of the Year a year ago. Finished 3rd in the Big Ten. Got his team to the NCAA tournament. Nebraska's first trip in 10 years. Fred Hoiberg at Iowa State was kind of a outscore you. Just going to go try to score and beat you 95-90. He has really done a nice job somewhat retooling the identity of this program to being a defense and toughness riddled throughout their DNA. And I thought that really revealed itself here tonight.
Well, a tip of the cap, if we can, to his assistant Nate Lenzer, who we watched run defensive drills in practice today at the shoot-around before the game. My goodness, there is an intensity there. He is a heck of a defensive mind and has really helped with that retool for Fred Hoiberg.
And he's a nice balance to Fred Hoiberg's personality. Coach Hoiberg's a little bit more of a laid-back guy, a little bit more cerebral. Nate Lenzer is all fire. And he was fired up at shoot-around.
Yes,
he got these Huskers locked in.
71-56 Nebraska. Creighton won for their last 10. They haven't hit a field goal in the last 5 minutes and 2 seconds of this game. They've been dominated in this game by Nebraska.
Completely.
Neal's three is good, and a timeout taken by Coach McDermott. 72-59. It breaks a drought of over 5 minutes between field goals. But they're going to need a miracle on that grease board to come back in this one. 1:11 to go. I know a guy who would have liked a game where they shot a lot of threes. Nicholas Allen Baugh. This was your rivalry moment against the Huskers.
A long time ago.
Look at Alex Marich. How good does he look?
Hair was a little better. Jerseys were a little bigger.
And I mean, Marich was there, but he didn't account for Nick Boss.
Well, this rivalry has certainly evolved. Yeah, how smooth was that? Clearly, I was not as strong as I was flexing there.
I felt bad. I mean, P. Allen Stinnett comes up and just blindsides you. What are you supposed to do?
I guess I didn't take charges until there, when the play was already completed. But this rivalry, as Creighton has moved into the Big East, there was a little bit of a big brother, little brother thing, and now it's not the case.
No. Well, Creighton's dominated this rivalry. 20 of the last 25 have gone in the win column for the Blue Jays. Tonight's Husker lead at half was only their 7th halftime lead in the last 25 games. As Kalkbrenner commits the personal foul, and Bryce Williams will go to the line.
I mean, balance for Nebraska, too. Multiple guys, 5 different guys in double figures. And everybody in different spurts of the game, Kevin, has been leading the charge. Jasijin had a good stretch. Bryce Williams had a good stretch. Juwan Gary, Raleigh Wooster made a bunch of big plays late here.
And Buchtengel is a rebound away from a double-double. And a quiet double-double at that. Remember, there's been a lot of foul trouble, so he's had to play more of the 5 tonight.
This is still a Nebraska team with all these newcomers trying to find the right rotations and combinations. And a game like this can go a long ways.
74-59 with a minute to go. Pop Isaacs fouled by Hoiberg, and to the line he goes for 2. Creighton, you saw their upcoming schedule. We showed it to you earlier with San Diego State, potentially a game against either Texas A&M or Oregon in Vegas, then Kansas, UNLV, at Alabama. I mean, they're about to go into a gauntlet, and the bigger concern is going to be, where is Stephen Ashworth in that gauntlet? How long does that ankle injury take to heal? And that's going to be the big question around this Blue Jay team before they leave for Vegas next week.
Obviously going to have to really examine a lot of different things from this game film. But you're right. The health of Stephen Ashworth is an enormous concern moving forward for Creighton.
2 for Isaacs, and there's a Jasijin in there to grab another rebound. His best game is on the portal. Man. And what a night for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They were a prohibitive underdog in Omaha tonight. Creighton never led in this game. Gary with the 3 and the rebound to Isaacs. Final 20 seconds in this one. Neal back in the corner to Isaacs, and a 3 for Pop Isaacs. He's got 25, but too little too late. And the Nebraska Cornhuskers have come to Omaha and stunned their in-state rival. Number 14 Creighton falls 74-63 to Nebraska.